I don't think that the majority or anything close to it of the women were technically. I mean, I think it was largely very young, barely legal, so to speak. But and I know that there were cases of underage, but I think.
The first thing to kind of point out here, just as a test for all my men out there, would you ever admit to anybody aloud that you are into barely legal porn? That's a category on most porn websites. It's a category. There's a category on most porn websites that says barely legal. Would you admit that in real life? Would you look at somebody differently if they admitted to you that they were into barely legal porn? Even though you know from watching porn that most of the women that are quote unquote barely legal are usually grown ass fucking women, right? They just happen to have baby face and maybe have a physique that makes them look a lot younger, but they're usually not as young as, the fucking title says they are. Not to break the fourth wall, not to kind of shatter some, illusions or whatever. But usually when they say teen, that person isn't a teenager, right? It's usually a grown ass woman. But you wouldn't even be comfortable. If you were a normal, well-adjusted human, you wouldn't be comfortable admitting that you watch barely legal porn. This guy is sitting here saying, technically the girls that went to Epstein's island, technically the girls that may have been abused by Epstein and some of his, high-profile guests and celebrities and shit, they weren't technically underage. They were very young, but they weren't underage. That is incredible. That is a crazy justification, excuse to make for somebody like that. Because on the flip side, like I said, you wouldn't be comfortable saying you are into barely legal porn, which is probably way more you deem to be maybe acceptable than making excuses for Epstein and the girls that he was victimizing and abusing. This is fucking crazy.
I think
most of it was just
very, very young, but not like
20-year-old
not
girls,
like 13 type thing. And then, remember, because this is an international enterprise, and many of the clients are like, in countries that don't necessarily have the same norms about that that we do. You can very easily see someone getting involved in that just because girls juice deals. And so I don't think that Epstein. I've not seen evidence, and in my view, you don't need any of that to understand the core part of the Epstein story that has relevance to your life today in terms of your own government and the workings of power and corporate finance and the like. But I do think that girls juice deals, and the fact that he had the coolest parties on a private island with the hottest girls is something that makes...
brought in a lot of intellectuals, stimulating conversations, scientists, all these very interesting people. So that was part of the thing, right? That was the draw.
Try hosting a cool party as a guy with a bad ratio, so to speak.
Sausage party.
With a sausage party. And when you develop a reputation for having attractive women at the parties you host, you become an important person to know in...
Jesus Christ, man. Jeez. So Epstein was a ladies' man, right? He was a ladies' man. He was better than Diddy. I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. It's kind of crazy. I would you wouldn't mind hearing this on another show, but it's just wild to hear Rogan, the guy that was always the conspiracy guy, the kind of dude who would have been eager to dig through these files, maybe even live on air, and analyze them and break it down and call out the people in power who were getting away with some of these heinous crimes, is now running cover for some of these people and making excuses, trying to rationalize it away, explain it away, contrarian it away, critical thinking it away, kind of depressing, man. It's probably not so depressing now because we've seen this play out for a long time, this change in Rogan and the guests he has on. But damn, this is disappointing, man. So disappointing. But hey, it is what it is, I guess.